Okay, here we are on overtime. Let's ask the panel. Oh, here's one for you, Kal, joining our panel. Will the Asian American vote make a difference in the 2014 election?
I think it can. Yeah, absolutely. This is a community that it's a recent immigrant community. A lot of them historically are underrepresented. They haven't registered to vote. This ties into a lot of the polling stuff that I've been talking about. If they go out and register to vote, yeah, absolutely.
Look at how far the Indian community has come just in the last 5 years or so. I mean, what? No, I'm saying we never used to see Indians in Bobby Jindal and Mindy Kaling, and I mean they used to be completely invisible. You?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a community. You know, there was this post-1965 immigrant wave after the Asian Exclusion Act, and then another post-1980s wave, and it's a community that's coming of age, and I think it's a good thing.
Do people think you're something else? Do they think you're Puerto Rican or something?
I think
because you know, people, beige, you know, brown people. I hear this from all the time. Like the regular American white person has no clue. They just don't get it.
I think it depends. I think it's funny, like older white folks obsess about it. Younger people don't.
Yeah.
And then there are Latinos that will come up to me and start speaking Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. And I wish I did. So, yeah.
Okay.
Bill, every election this fall could be controlled by the turnout. 45, 50% of the people don't vote. You get 5% more turnout. It would swing every election in the country.
This is for you, Senator. Would you consider caucusing with the Republicans if they gain control of the Senate?
I have gotten that question a lot, as you can imagine. My answer is always the same. I'll make that decision at the time based upon what I think is best for Maine.
Right.
That's it.
But you're... Okay. And not America?
And America. Maine first.
Maine first? Really? Maine comes before America?
That's who elected me.
That's pretty good. Okay, General Clark, do you think the U.S. will ever withdraw its troops from Germany, Japan, and elsewhere around the world? In other words, will the empire that we were never supposed to have end?
It's not going to end.
Really?
We're there for the long haul.
I mean, you used to command all of them, right? You were head of NATO.
I was in NATO. But, you know, if you look at what's happening in Ukraine right now with Vladimir Putin and the tanks and the Russian equipment still going in, the fighting still going on there despite the so-called truce. And our NATO allies in Eastern Europe are very concerned. They want more U.S. troops back. If you look at what's happening in Asia with China's military buildup and the pushing on the South China Sea, they want those American troops there, and the ships and the planes. I think we're going to be there for a long time, Bill.
Yeah, they all shit on us until they're in trouble, and then they're like, they drunk dial us. You know, can you come over and help us?
But it's true. It's true. They need us. But then, you know, it's a mutual relationship. We need them, too. We need their diplomatic voices. We need their economies and so forth. So this is the leverage we have. And, you know, we don't want to have to use that leverage. Those troops are supposed to keep the peace, not fight. When I joined the United States Armed Forces, the idea was we were going to prevent war, not wage it. And that still should be the goal of the United States and the United States Armed Forces.
Why do we have a Department of Defense but not a Department of Peace?
Well, we've looked at that for a long time. We created an Institute of Peace in Washington. We study it. That's the State Department. And actually the whole government has to work together. And we have made progress. We've come a long way since the end of the Cold War. But when you look at what's going on, as I say, with Putin today, you look at the pushing by China, then you have to say, okay, let's make sure we don't lose what we had. We've got a lot of work to do in the next few years with those two countries.
What do you think about the way that Republicans get away with talking about Putin and ISIS, like Ted Cruz, ISIS? I'd take them out.
Yeah, it's actually...
Why would they surrender to you? Because you're a chicken hawk with a law degree? Well, how are you going to take them out that Obama's not already doing? Or Chris Christie said about Putin invading Crimea, he said, well, given who I am, he would have made a different choice.
Yeah. There's a lot of...
Why? Because you're fat? He wouldn't have dared?
You know, there's a lot of posturing. But if you look at where ISIS is right now and what the administration's doing, for God's sake, let's don't put U.S. troops in on the ground.
Right.
Okay. It's a religious war. Putting
That's
U.S.
what they
troops
want.
in there,
ISIS wants U.S. troops.
absolutely. It's like putting gasoline on a fire to put U.S. troops in that fight.
I agree.
But the air power can make a real
The air power is fine. But this is, look, there are so
Why
many.
can't they do the air power themselves? These countries have air forces. Why do we have to always be the guardians of the galaxy?
Well, they are.
Why do we have to
but
do
they
everything?
are. They're flying missions.
They're doing
dropping
some
bombs.
of it.
Not real.
But
flying
Bill, we're
missions.
going to be in and out of the Middle East for decades because this region is in so much turmoil. We have to push and shove and nudge on it, but we got to learn the lesson
Well,
from
here's a
Iraq.
question. Should we be
can't govern.
Should we be sanctioning Saudi Arabia for funding ISIS?
Yes. Yes, but we're not doing this because this is an ally. This is a state. When you talk about Islam, actually, you should talk about Saudi Arabia. You should talk about Wahhabism, which is the real ideology of Al-Qaeda, of ISIS, of Boko Haram, of Shabab. This is the ideology that I have, and I think you should understand the difference between historical Islam and the first ISIS state. That's called Saudi Arabia. 1932, they decided they will get rid of all interpretation, all the school of laws, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali. They didn't care about those. They wanted to go directly to the source, Quran, Hadith, literal interpretation. The way you interpret it, it's the way they interpret. They see violence. This is what they see. This is what they've been exporting, but we didn't do anything about it. This is a country that gave us bin Laden. This is a country that gave us 15 of the 19 hijacker of September 11. This is the country that actually is financing over and over. But we don't do much about it because it's harder. What we do, go after ordinary Muslims and harass them. This is what we do. Not only that, we have to also to stand up to another country that is Egypt.
The greatest thing we can do for U.S. national security, honestly, is to become energy independent.
And lower the price of oil.
That's exactly right. That's what this country needs to do.
But this is not what we're doing. We're going to Egyptian President Sisi, and we're treating him as a hero when he's the guy that actually inside of his prison is giving us the next Al-Qaeda and the next ISIS. And we don't do much about it. We give him $2 billion a year. I think poor Americans deserve that money more than Sisi.
I'll tell you this. There are a lot of bad choices in the Middle East, and we've made most of them. We really have.
But,
we've done
choices,
too much at the wrong time. We've done too little at the wrong time.
General, we had 200 jihadists after September 11 in caves. Today we have 50,000 in the heart of the Middle Eastern countries that used to be secular.
The choice in Egypt,
did we
let's be
do
honest,
something wrong?
is between either a Mubarak or a Sisi or the Muslim Brotherhood.
Exactly
That's
right.
what happened. Is the Muslim Brotherhood a preferable choice?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, the general.
You are wrong. You're both wrong. I'm sorry. We need to move beyond terror and tyrant. We need to move. Tyrant are the guys that gave us Ayman Zawahiri, the current leader of Al-Qaeda. Why did they give us Egypt, Ayman Zawahiri? Because of the torture chambers. He left that torture chamber, and guess what? He had one idea, transnational jihad. And we keep doing the same thing.
So Muslim Brotherhood better than that?
Look at Tunisia. They voted out the Muslim Brotherhood. They voted them out now. Why don't you look at the big picture? But you're seeing only the
Oh,
nerve,
no,
the
let's
nerve.
not go back. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Halloween.